All right, guys, how you doing? Dad Dash Industries here. I wanted to take a quick moment here just to weigh in on a huge subject matter that I think is I see on YouTube right now that's become a hot button topic, and that is the recent second strike that's allegedly coming, and that the purpose of that strike is to bring us into becoming closer to employees, or if not, basically becoming employees for these gig apps, and just where my position stands on that. So I wanted to just kind of first start out by saying that I think the idea of making us employees of these gig apps is a absolutely terrible idea, because I think that we will lose the spirit of exactly what it is we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing. Because in my opinion, advantages of being a gig worker are the fact that we have the flexibility to come and go as we please, and to approach this job as we please, as long as we adhere to the contract that we sign with the individual companies that we are working for. And to me, once you lose that, once you become a full-fledged worker, you're going to lose a lot of the freedom. You're going to be required to become exactly what many of us left the corporate world for, or the business, or the traditional business model for. And I don't think anyone's going to be happier doing it that way. So I think the reason why we feel that way is because many of us that came, or that are in this job right now, came from the business world. So came from being employees, and they have a very employee-oriented mindset. Now myself, I've been doing this now for about 5 months. I've done over 1,000 deliveries. I think I've kind of been able to develop a great read on what this is and how this should be approached. And in my opinion, I think the biggest problem that we have right now is that many delivery drivers don't know how to define themselves. And what I mean is they're caught in this influx where it's like they're thinking like employees, but they're really not employees, and they're actually business owners, and they're in conflict with themselves. So I think the first thing that we've got to get across to every delivery driver out there is you are a business owner. You own a business. You are a small business operating in your market. Okay? You are not an employee of Grub Hub, Uber Eats, DoorDash, or any of the other gig apps that you're working for. Those are vendors. Those are partners that you're utilizing as part of your business model, whatever it may be. Your business model may be a one-stop shop where you're just partnered with DoorDash, and that's fine. But you are still, even if you're just partnered with one app, you are still a business owner. You should still be approaching that relationship as a business would approach another business. And that's the problem. Many people approach this and try to solve the problems as if they're employees and not as business owners. I think if we stop thinking like employees, we start thinking like business owners, we start realizing that we do not owe them an explanation for anything. Right? We are our own business. We can have our own code of ethics. If we were big enough, we could have our own HR departments. We could have our own payroll departments, but we're not that big. That's not who we are. We're one person operations. Maybe we have family members that might help us out occasionally from time to time when we don't have any paid employees. But we are, at the end of the day, we are business owners. Once you start to approach this business with that mindset, I think it will change for a lot of people. Because I think they will start to understand that, you know what, listen, I don't have to have 80% acceptance rate, right? DoorDash wants to entice me to do that, but does it make sense? Does it make sense to do that? And as a business owner comes a lot of responsibility. And this is where I believe that I think that in the end, the real question that should be being asked is by a lot of these people that are upset or calling for us to become employees is like, are you in the right industry? Is this the right thing for you? Because what I'm hearing is it's not. And I think the real hard conversation that should be had is, listen, if you're not happy with where you're at right now, if this isn't working for you, if you're not making money, then go ahead and find something else. Find another business that you can run. Go back and become an employee, but becoming an employee here, turning essentially allowing all, and what would happen here is essentially, and be clear on this, We are all business owners right now. We all have a value. Our business is generating revenue, and we could all come up and put in earning and income statements down and say, look, this is the value of my business. This is what it generates. This is what I'm doing. These are my expenses. This is my revenue. This is my profit for the year. And in a sense, you could sell, in theory, you could sell your business to somebody. But essentially what would happen is DoorDash would essentially, or Grub Hub or any of these apps would essentially be buying, when they would turn us into employees, buying for free millions of businesses. They could pick the ones they wanted, and then the rest will be put out to pasture. And if you don't believe that's what's going to happen, then you're foolish, because it's going to put a lot of drivers, a lot of gig apps, a lot of gig drivers across the board are going to be out of business. And we're going to be sitting here going, wow, what happened here? Because we're all going to have to apply. You're not just going to go in your app and go, okay, I now work for DoorDash. This is great. No, DoorDash is going to have to hire in who they want to hire in. You're going to have to formally interview for your position. You're going to agree upon a wage. You're going to show up every day at work. You're going to go drive wherever they want you to drive. You're going to be able to make tips much like a waiter or waitress does. And you're going to get those tips paid to you at a certain point. You're not going to have any freedom whatsoever. If you don't show up on time, if you're not here, if this isn't happening, you're going to get an employee review at the end of the year. All the things that make working in the corporate world untenable for some people are going to come right into this. And what's going to happen is you're not going to have the access to this work, it's going to go away. And then you're going to have to wait until DoorDash is hiring or Grub Hub is hiring. You're not going to be able to work for 2 or 3 people at a time. When I worked in my previous industry, I had to let my company know if I was working for someone else, if I was doing another job. And that's a requirement. They would say, hey, listen, you can't work for anyone else. They'll fire you if they find out. They're going to have a lot more dominion over you when you become an employee of their business than you do right now. So that is, to me, not the answer. But I think what is the answer is that we all need to recognize that we are small business owners. That we all need to go to work with that frame of mind. That we all need to if we're unhappy with the relationships we have, it's our obligation as owners of our business to go seek other relationships that work better for us. And if our business isn't making money, then you are out of business. If you are not profitable, you are out of business. Then that means you either need to figure out how you can get profitable. And that comes from going to, places like YouTube, where you can seek and see how some business owners are doing it and what they're doing. One of the biggest challenges we have is that we don't have a lot of resources when we begin this. And YouTube is a fantastic resource. And that's one of the reasons why I started my channel, is because I am a tremendous believer in networking. But I think that it would be absolutely helpful for us to create networks and places for gig workers to come that want to better themselves, for seminars and things like what Pedro DoorDash Santiago is doing, where he was wanting to do a gig conference next year. The spirit of all of that is absolutely on point, because those are things that we need. As we come together and learn how to work this, what other business owners are doing, we can become better ourselves in how we approach things. Secondarily, you need to go and figure out your method of creating and collecting data. This is a data-driven job. All businesses are data-driven. And what I hear and what I see is that there is not a lot of drivers out there necessarily collecting all the data they should be collecting when they're out there, so they can make decisions and make better decisions and improve day in and day out with their decision making and how they're approaching their business and the relationships they have. Because you need to be able to assess the relationships you're having with these apps. Because if one app is no longer being profitable for you, if you're driving all these miles and costing yourself in an expense side, and it's dragging down your business and dragging down your ability to earn, you need to be able to see that. You're not going to be able to see that in the data that the apps give you, but you can collect it as you're going, and you can be able to see it for yourself and go, wow, look at this. Okay. Which is what I do in my videos and why I try to show that, that type of knowledge comes from being in the business world, which is what you can apply. So I think that, the answer here that we're looking for is not in becoming employees. But I think the answer is two-pronged. One, the drivers themselves need to change the way they're thinking about things. They need to go after education and educating themselves through the different avenues, YouTube, other drivers that are out. I think we need to create forums, Facebook, whatever groups they have that you can go out to and talk to other drivers and say, how are you doing it? How are you running your business? What are you doing? And two, I think that every single delivery app should be required to provide some education at the very beginning of the relationship to educate you on who you are, what you're doing, what type of business that you're in, and educate yourself on, provide that education so that the drivers understand who they are and what they are and how this is working. If they do that, if they provide that education at the onset, delivery drivers will better understand that they're running their own business. I think that some of the money that's being put towards promotions and things, it would be better off for these apps to provide resources for their drivers to run their business with, to help collect the data and analytics that the drivers need to better themselves and to make better decisions and things while they're out. Now, I don't know if they will do that, but I think that would be awesome. But I think the other thing that we need to do as drivers is what we need to be asking for is, instead of asking for to become employees, I think we as business owners would owe it to ourselves to come together, and create, use the community that we've developed through YouTube, Facebook, Reddit, wherever it is, but that we need to try to solidify that community as drivers and as business owners to come together to decide what can we ask of these apps, okay, to help us do our job better. And I have several ideas of that. One of them being more transparent screen to show us and make it a requirement for us to show us the order information that we need. Two, if they're not going to show us the information on the screen, that they should be obligated and mandated, just out of a fairness and to promote competitiveness, that there should be a period of time that they can't hold the completion rate against us. In other words, for like the first 2 minutes when we accept an order, that we should have the time, and it should be brought to the attention of these delivery apps by state entities. This is where the government should get involved. Is you have a bunch of gig drivers driving around with apps with orders coming to them, right? And they have 32 seconds to look at the order, and they're supposed to do it. How can they pull their car over and have time to look at the order? They can't. So if they hit accept, right, pull the car over, pull it up, and look at the ins and outs of the order. I understand you can't keep the order for 5 minutes or 10 minutes because you're talking about an impact on the customer and the restaurant, and it needs to get back out if that driver's not interested. But for a safety purpose, to keep people from driving off the road and wrecking and hurting other people out there while they're trying to look at their stuff, give us time to be able to look at the order, vet it, see if it fits our business model, see if it fits what we're looking to do right now at the given moment. And if we don't like it, send it back within a reasonable amount of time and let another driver take it. That should be something that should just come in and say, if you guys want to operate on our highways, on our roads, then you need to make sure that you're ensuring the safety of the other drivers on the road by making sure your drivers are having the time they need to be able to make the business decisions that they need to make. And I think the apps should require that when you hit accept, or you should be able to put it in queue and hit okay, accept, and you shouldn't be able to see the order specifics, okay, until you're pulled over. And I know they have that technology because Uber Eats doesn't let you take a picture until you're pulled over. So that can happen. And then that will solve a lot of problems and will help drivers make much better decisions. And they can determine what they want. Transparency is the key. I think that's what we need to fight for, not to become employees, but we need to require them to become transparent business partners. I think that from a competitive standpoint, they should be required to share everything, and they should not be allowed to hide any of the business stuff. It would be like a mortgage company being able to hide and saying, well, you're not going to find out until you pay your mortgage off exactly how much it costs. No one in their right mind would allow that. The government would not allow that. They shouldn't be allowed to do that when we're talking about food delivery or we're talking about any type of gig work. It should be required that you see the exact amount and all the financials so you can make a business decision, just as a vendor of Walmart would be able to see the full transparent business deal. And if they didn't see it and there was information being withheld from even one party, that would be considered fraudulent, and there would be recourse from one business to another. And there should be recourse from one business to another, because there's 3 million businesses that are operating for and working with as business partners of DoorDash right now. Not employees, business partners. And the one reason why DoorDash and all these companies don't want us to see ourselves that way is they don't want us to see ourselves as employees, but they don't want us to see ourselves as business owners. They want us to think we're in some in between, and we're not. Because once you start to look at things in that light, you start to realize that, look, this whole relationship that I have right now with DoorDash and Grub Hub and the whole way I'm going to treat it is totally different. And I think it would solve so many problems. So anyways, I've been going on long enough on this subject. My position is the strikes we're not employees. I don't think we need to strike. I don't think a strike is going to be effective. Okay. I think the only thing that's going to be effective is requiring these, apps to make sure that they're educating the drivers on exactly what the relationship is that they have with them is, making sure that it's completely transparent, and then making sure that when they are making offers, when we go to work for them, that it is completely clear that what they're offering us every time an offer comes through on our phones is a legally binding contract, and that as a result, they have a legal responsibility to disclose all financial terms of that contract, and that we should be able to analyze that and be given proper time within the context of, food delivery. Obviously, we can't have 2 days to look at this, but, giving us 2 full minutes once our car is pulled over to the side of the road, and our apps know that, and they should be required to implement that technology. So they know now we have our time where we can go and look at our vetting period. And technically we own that. We have it right in front of us. We can go through all the financials. We can analyze it from our whether or not it's profitable or not. And then once we hit accept, they can hold us accountable if we decide that we want to, get rid of it later on, because they've given us enough time to decide what we want to do with that order. And at that point, if we decide to start canceling orders, they can hold us accountable for that. But I think that change alone, the requirement for transparency, the requirement that they can't hide tips and show us everything. Listen, it's going to be a supply and demand then. All right. If there's not enough drivers, the drivers that don't like the orders that are small and no good, and those orders are not going to get delivered. And the drivers that continue to turn those down, or maybe they have low ratings or whatever the formula is that leads them to be offered to those drivers, those are going to leave the market, because those businesses are not going to be able to make it. And it's okay that happens. And the market itself will be able to naturally work itself out the way it should. But what the government's role should be in this, what we should be asking is that fairness needs to be brought into the market so that the market can work for itself in the way it's supposed to. You cannot have manipulation like what we're having, and that is a problem. Again, I don't believe striking is going to solve any of that. What we need to do is think of ourselves as business owners. We need to have those of us that are DoorDash drivers need to organize locally to come together, and not coming together as employees, not coming together as a union or anything like that, but we need to come together as business owners, and we get a representative that we can speak to and let DoorDash come and see what's going on, or Grub Hub if they're interested in bettering their apps. And those apps that step up are the ones we will work for. And that's how it can go. But I think that we need to, first of all, begin thinking of ourselves as business owners and not employees. That is the first step. And once that happens, I think it will be game changing for everyone. And I think that those that don't like that idea that they're a business owner who are not entitled to anything but what they get from that contract, DoorDash shouldn't be required to give you health insurance. That's not their role. And it's your job as a business owner to provide yourself with health insurance. Now, I think once we start getting recognized as a business, that should allow for us to be able to go bid on health insurance and stuff like that. And I think that's up to again, a whole nother set of things that can come into effect when you're going out as a business person and buying health insurance for yourself. But I think that recognition needs to be brought in right away, that we are small business owners. We're the smallest of small businesses, but that is what we are. And DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grub Hub are our vendors, our business partners, and that we need to approach them as such. And if we are unhappy with the way they are treating us, it's our job as a business owner to find something else or another partner, or to find out another way to make money for our business. And whether that's however that might be. And I think competition is the key, because I think if we get one company realizes, hey, all these drivers are going to want to work for me, and they're providing more transparency and doing these things, the other drivers will, or the other companies will jump on board. And then the other thing is I think the government needs to step in to a degree to look at it as regulation of a market, and saying we need to make sure there's full transparency, and look at it as a regulation of a financial market, and saying, listen, there needs to be complete transparency from the contractual part. And that contractual part is every time DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, Instacart, Shipt, Roadie, whoever it is, sends out a contract, you are obligated to allow that person to lock it in. So when it comes out, I can lock it in, and for 2 minutes, I have the ability to pull my vehicle over, take a look at it, and either release it or accept it. Once I accept it fully, then you can punish me for getting rid of it and whatever impact that might cause between the customer, the restaurant, and everything else. But if I don't and I release it, there should be no impact to me, and there should be no reason that I can't be given the appropriate time to make a good financial, safe decision for my business. And as a delivery driver, they have to acknowledge the fact that most of us are on the road when these orders come through, and that they should give us adequate time, and they should know that our car is pulled over and that we're in a safe setting, so we're protecting ourselves and other drivers on the road. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off here. I've talked a lot about this. Please put comments in if you agree or disagree with this, because I think it's definitely a big, big topic that's not going to go away. I think we all need to weigh in, but I think that it's something that we all need to figure out our approach, and figure out the secret that they're hiding from us. And that is, we are small business owners. We are not employees. And I don't think we should not be advocating to take that away from ourselves. And we should not be allowing DoorDash, Grubhub to make a free purchase of millions of small businesses, which is what they would be doing, and being able to purchase them all, bring them in, and profit off of our labor and hard work. And I think that's a wrong approach. I think that's a terrible approach. And I think that maybe in a way, if you look at it in a certain way, that might be what they're angling at all along, is they're going to end up the winners of this whole thing, because they're going to get the cheap labor and the ability to treat us as employees, which is more of a win for them than it would be for us, in my opinion. All right, guys, signing off. If you got anything out of this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Really would appreciate that. Like I said, I'm trying to grow this channel, trying to create a community, trying to create a place for all of us to be able to come and learn from each other. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you soon.